Bill, if you could ask the next question to Kevin.
Kevin, the legislature left open the issue of education funding by the state this past term. Can you discuss what your understanding of the issue is, what its likely and possible impacts will be on the state budget and taxes, and how you would go about addressing those impacts?
Absolutely. Look, this is a crucial issue. We need an ed funding amendment in this state if we're going to target aid to the neediest of communities. The formula that we're using right now is simply unsustainable. We're sending money to communities that quite frankly don't need it, and we're holding money back to those communities that do need it. And so as governor, I would work very hard to make sure we finally pass a constitutional amendment to put it on the ballot and give the voters the right to vote on this issue, to say we're going to target aid as we've always done in the state of New Hampshire. John Lynch has been governor for 8 years. He campaigned on this issue. He said when he was campaigning he would solve this by passing an ed funding amendment. And I know it because I was working for Governor Benson at the time. It's a failed promise 8 years later. Even with a Democrat majority, he couldn't pass an ed funding amendment. So I would make that a very high priority of mine. But that's where my education plan begins. It doesn't end there. We need to reform the education system too. Allow for more school choice. Allow for more charter schools. I have a plan called Money Follows the Child, which would empower parents to choose the schools for their children rather than sending the money to the local school districts. We need to reform things like tenure reform as well, and seniority, so that we can keep good teachers around even if they haven't been on the job very long. So I look very forward to working with the next legislature, be it Republican or Democrat. I certainly hope it's Republican, but working with whoever it is to make sure that we allow the people in the state the opportunity to solve this once and for all. It's time to get the courts out of meddling with education funding and put it back in the hands of the legislature.
I wonder if we could sit through talk about what Kevin just said, he could rebuttal with his remarks.
I'm going to answer the question that was asked because it's an important question that's being asked, and you let the audience decide whether or not either one of us has a different view of this. I've been chairman of the State Board of Education, as I said, in the mid-90s, a former teacher, former diocesan school board chairman overseeing Catholic schools for our state, hence the cartoon I described. I was the defendant in the Claremont lawsuit. We won in the Superior Court. The Speaker's question is quite right. The Supreme Court is the one that's changed the Constitution by the Claremont II decision, in which I was intimately involved. We need to have a constitutional amendment, because if we do not, you will see another lawsuit coming from the plaintiffs saying we're underfunding the educational adequacy. Do you understand what this Claremont II decision has done? Essentially, the court has said that when it comes to education in New Hampshire, it is a non-delegable duty. That means the state cannot transfer to cities and towns and school districts the authority to chart educational planning to provide adequate education or to provide educational funding. And what we've done is taken away the power of the local communities to have local control. We need this constitutional amendment. I'm not speaking in theory, I'm speaking from experience. And I'll have the experience to bring our legislature to a place where we can put a constitutional amendment on the ballot and write this so that we have local control and true educational reform. And I hope that that responds to the question, Mr. Speaker.
GrokTV.